Chosen one, when money comes, keep quiet and stay wise. Pause before the world rushes in, before the noise begins. Before anyone else can place a single word over what God is quietly doing in your life. Take a slow breath. Press your hand over your heart and truly listen, because what is about to be spoken is not meant for everyone. It is meant for the soul who has waited in silence, carried faith through long and difficult seasons, and is now standing at the edge of something new. Something is shifting in your life. You may already feel it. A door that was sealed for years has begun to open. Provision that once seemed impossible is beginning to move toward you in quiet ways. Resources you once only prayed about are beginning to take shape just beyond the horizon of your present moment. And the wisdom you are about to receive may be the very thing that determines whether those blessings grow into something lasting or whether they fade the way morning dew disappears before noon. This message is for you, chosen one. Stay with it until the very end, because the truth at the center of this conversation may be the most important thing you hear today. And if you know someone standing at the edge of their own breakthrough, someone walking a path of quiet faith, share this with them. You may be the messenger heaven chose to reach them. Type Amen in the comments if you believe God is already preparing something for your life. Before we step into the heart of this message, there is something I want to say to you directly. If this work is already speaking to something deep inside you, if you feel something stirring in your chest, even before we have truly begun, your support means everything to what happens here. There is a link in the description below and pinned in the comments where you can buy me a coffee. It is a small act that carries enormous spiritual weight. When you pour into something that pours into you, you open a channel of reciprocity between yourself and heaven. Every contribution, no matter how small, tells the universe that you are ready to receive. It says, I recognize value when it appears before me, and I am not afraid to honor it. That posture of generosity, that willingness to give even when the world tells you to hold everything tightly, is the very posture that opens doors. Check the description and the comments for that link whenever you feel moved. Even a single cup of coffee is a seed planted in fertile ground. Now, let us begin. There is a truth about money and blessing that very few people understand before it is too late. The world teaches loudness. It teaches display. It teaches that success must be announced, celebrated in front of as many witnesses as possible, and shared immediately. The culture of loud celebration has become so deeply woven into daily life that silence in the face of good news feels almost strange. But the path that wisdom teaches is radically different from the noisy path of the world. When heaven begins to move blessings toward your life, the first and most powerful response is not celebration. It is not announcement. The first response that truly protects a blessing is quiet, steady gratitude directed toward the God who gave it. Many people carry a blessing right up to the edge of its full potential, and then, in a single unguarded moment of excitement, scatter it through careless words and proud announcements. They tell too many people too soon. They display too much before wisdom has had time to protect what God has placed in their hands. And slowly, the blessing begins to lose its power, not because God withdrew it, but because the heart forgot to remain humble. Think of the seed. A farmer does not plant a seed in the morning and then invite every neighbor to watch it grow. He covers it carefully, waters it quietly, and gives it time to root before it is revealed to the world. The silence of that covered soil is not weakness. It is protection. It is the patient wisdom that turns a small buried thing into something that can eventually feed many. This is exactly the wisdom God calls the chosen one to practice when money begins to appear. Cover the seed. Water it with gratitude. Let it root itself in humility before allowing the world to see what is growing. Type, yes, if this truth is speaking to something real inside your heart. Silence is not emptiness. In the spiritual life, silence is one of the most active and powerful things a person can practice. When money begins to arrive, when doors open and provision flows, silence becomes a shield. Not a shield built from fear, but from wisdom and trust in God's guidance. Silence shields you from those who would celebrate your success outwardly, while quietly harboring envy within. Not every person around you has been prepared to witness your breakthrough. Some carry wounds of their own. Comparison, disappointment, unfulfilled longing, and the sight of your abundance can stir those wounds in ways they themselves may not fully understand. This is not something to judge them for. It is something to protect yourself and them from, by moving quietly until the blessing has had time to root itself deeply. Silence also shields you from your own pride. The applause of others, even when it comes from sincere love, can slowly begin to replace the still, quiet voice of God as the source of a person's identity. When that happens, when the approval of people begins to feel more necessary than the peace of heaven, the heart has already begun to drift. God watches the one who receives blessings with bowed head rather than raised chest. He trusts the heart that whispers gratitude in private before it ever speaks celebration in public. Type Amen if you want to be that kind of person. There was a season in your life, perhaps not so long ago, when the path felt incredibly narrow. Nights when prayers were whispered through tired eyes. Mornings when you rose not knowing how certain needs would be met, trusting only in the faithfulness of a God who had not yet revealed how he would answer. Seasons when faith was not a comfortable habit but a desperate and beautiful lifeline. You remember those days, and they are precious, not because they were easy, but because they shaped something inside you that no amount of comfort or success could ever create. Those seasons carved out humility. They carved out patience. They carved out the quiet and unshakable trust that only grows in the soil of difficulty. The chosen one never allows abundance to erase the memory of the narrow road, because that memory is a gift. Every time you hold a resource and feel the temptation to display it before the world, the memory of the narrow road whispers gently, "This came from God, not from your cleverness alone, from the faithfulness of a God who saw your tears and decided, in his perfect timing, that the season of struggle had accomplished everything it was meant to accomplish in your spirit." That memory transforms the way you carry blessing. Instead of a trophy, it becomes a trust. Instead of a reward to display, it becomes a responsibility to steward. Type 1111 if you trust that God's timing is always perfect. When money enters your life, something else also enters. A shift in how the people around you begin to behave. This shift can be subtle at first, but with time it becomes clearer, and wisdom requires you to see it honestly. Some people who barely noticed you before will suddenly become deeply interested in your life. They will ask questions about your circumstances, your plans, your future. Some of those offers will come from sincere and generous hearts. Receive those with warmth and gratitude, but others will come carrying a different energy. Their interest will carry the quiet weight of expectation. Their attention will be focused not on who you are, but on what you now have. God never asks you to become suspicious of everyone. Wisdom simply calls you to observe carefully before you trust completely, and to remain rooted in discernment rather than in the excitement of sudden attention. Not every smile carries the same meaning. Not every compliment comes from a place of love. and not every person who appears beside you during your season of blessing was present during your season of struggle. Jesus understood this deeply. During his ministry, crowds gathered when signs were miraculous and provision was visible. Yet he never confused popularity with intimacy. He knew the difference between the crowd who came for bread and the disciples who stayed for truth. He moved with extraordinary wisdom about which conversations to enter fully and which to observe with gentle distance. This is the discernment God is developing inside you. Chosen one, not a cold suspicion of the world, but a warm and grounded clarity about who belongs in the inner circle of your trust. Protect that circle. Share freely from your life, but carefully about your journey. There is a quiet trap that waits along the path of every person who begins to walk in abundance. It slips in gently and whispers, "Look at what they have. Look at how far along they are. Look at what you still lack in comparison." Comparison is one of the most effective tools the enemy uses to steal peace from a heart that has everything it needs to remain content. It does not only attack the person who has less, it also attacks the person who has more. It tells the one who has received abundance that it is still not enough, that someone else has further. And in chasing that invisible moving target, peace quietly drains away. The chosen one learns to step off the track of comparison entirely. Your path is uniquely yours. The timing of your blessings is governed by a divine understanding of your specific purpose and the exact readiness of your spirit to receive what is being entrusted to you. Another person's abundance does not diminish yours. Each soul is running a completely different race, measured by completely different standards, toward a completely different finish line. When you release comparison, something beautiful happens. Peace returns. Gratitude deepens. The blessings you already carry begin to feel richer and more purposeful, because you are no longer measuring them against someone else's story. Type 1212 if you are learning to walk by faith and not by comparison. We are in the middle of something powerful right now, and I want to stop briefly to acknowledge you for being here. You did not come to this message by accident. Something led you here. A quiet nudge, a searching heart, a need for words that speak to the deeper things God is doing beneath the surface of your visible life. And if this work has already poured something real into you, I want to gently invite you to pour something back. There is a link in the description below and pinned in the first comment where you can support this work by buying a coffee. It does not have to be much. It is the heart behind it that matters. Your generosity seeds your own harvest. When you give into the work that speaks life into you, heaven takes notice. Every offering, small or large, is seen, honored, and returned in ways that cannot always be measured by human eyes. If you feel led, go to that link now or save it for when the message is over. Now let us keep going, because there is still more to receive. One of the most important shifts that must happen when blessings begin to arrive is a shift in the way money itself is understood. Money is not your identity. It is not the measure of your worth. It is not the proof of your faith or the reward for your goodness. Money is a tool, a resource, an earthly form of energy that can be directed toward purposes far greater than personal comfort. When the heart understands this deeply, not as a concept but as a living conviction, everything changes. The way blessings are received changes. The way decisions are made changes. The way generosity flows through your life changes. A person who sees money as a tool does not cling to it with the fear of someone whose identity depends on how much they have. They hold it with the open hand of someone who understands that it flows through them rather than belonging to them. Jesus spoke more about money than almost any other subject during his earthly ministry, not because he was focused on material things, but because he understood how powerfully money shapes the orientation of a human heart. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. He understood that if the heart is not firmly anchored in God, money's gravitational pull can quietly begin to replace faith as the source of peace. The chosen one is vigilant about this line between gratitude for provision and dependence on provision. They hold resources with open hands, knowing that everything entrusted to them serves a purpose beyond their own comfort, and that God can always provide again when something is released in obedience and generosity. A tool used wisely creates something lasting. A tool hoarded out of fear eventually rusts unused. Type Amen if you want to handle blessings like a faithful steward. Something stirs in the heart of almost every person who has known genuine need and then received genuine provision. The desire to become someone who helps. The memory of difficult seasons, of the kindness that once lifted your own spirit, of the moment when an unexpected blessing changed the direction of an entire week, creates a natural reservoir of compassion that begins to overflow when abundance arrives. This is one of the most beautiful things that happens inside a chosen one. But wisdom also speaks here. Generosity grows deepest when it is guided by discernment rather than pressure or performance. There is a version of generosity driven by the desire to be seen as generous. And this version, though it produces the outward form of giving, does not carry the same spiritual weight as the kind that flows quietly from a heart that simply wants to reflect God's goodness. The most powerful acts of generosity often happen in silence. A need is noticed quietly. A resource is offered without announcement. A life is touched in a way that only God and the person who received the kindness truly understands. This kind of giving does not build a public reputation. It builds something far more lasting, a character that heaven trusts with more. Jesus healed in crowds, but some of his most tender moments of compassion happened in quiet corners. A single conversation beside a well, a word of comfort extended to someone the crowd had already dismissed. His generosity was not calibrated to an audience. It was calibrated to the need in front of him and the love inside him. This is the standard the chosen one reaches toward, not giving that impresses people, but giving that serves God's purposes. When your resources grow, ask quietly, where is God directing this? Who has he placed in my path that needs something I have the ability to offer? Then act quietly, faithfully, without waiting for recognition. When long-awaited blessings finally arrive, the natural human response is urgency. After so much waiting, the desire to act, decide, and transform all at once becomes almost overwhelming. The patience that sustained you through years of quiet faith can feel suddenly unnecessary when the thing you waited for has finally appeared. But this is precisely the moment when patience is most needed. Seasons of sudden change require slower movement than seasons of stillness. When much is shifting around you, new resources, new doors, new relationships, the risk of a careless decision carries greater consequence than it did during quieter times. The stakes are higher, the territory is unfamiliar, and wisdom must remain your companion through the arrival. Just as it was through the waiting, move thoughtfully. Pray before every significant decision. Resist the urgency to announce or act before you have sat quietly with God and asked, is this the right direction, the right timing, the right step? The blessing is not going anywhere. The provision God has released into your life does not require haste to secure it. It requires wisdom to steward it. There is a peace available to the person who chooses patience in the middle of abundance that most people never discover, because most people never slow down long enough to find it. The calm of someone not driven by urgency, not overwhelmed by options, not anxious about taking advantage of every opportunity immediately. The peace of someone who trusts that the God who opened the doors also has a plan for how to walk through them well. Take your time, chosen one. The harvest that took years to grow deserves more than a moment of careless urgency to consume it. Type yes if you are choosing patience even in your season of breakthrough. There is a quiet and profound paradox at the heart of spiritual abundance. The soul that walks in humility tends to carry more and carry it longer than the soul inflated by pride. Pride is loud and restless. It requires constant maintenance, constant validation, constant display, constant comparison with others to confirm that the good thing it possesses is truly as good as it appears. It exhausts itself in the performance of success. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise and effort, the original blessing, the thing that was meant to bring peace and purpose, becomes a burden rather than a gift. Humility requires nothing extra. It simply receives, says thank you, and moves forward in quiet trust. It does not need the world to confirm the value of what God has given. It holds abundance the way a calm hand holds water, not gripping, not waving it in display, but simply allowing it to rest in a steady and open palm. Jesus embodied this truth in every chapter of his earthly life. The king who arrived in silence. The healer who sometimes asked those he healed to tell no one. The teacher who washed the feet of his followers rather than demanding that they honor the position he held. He demonstrated continuously that real greatness does not require the acknowledgement of the crowd. The chosen one follows this path, not because they have no joy in their blessing, but because their joy is rooted in something that crowds cannot give and cannot take away. Their security rests in God. Their identity rests in love. Their peace rests in the quiet certainty that they are known and guided by a presence far more steady than the shifting opinions of the world. Humility is not weakness. Humility is the posture that keeps the heart open to receive more, carry more, and become more than pride could ever allow. Type Amen if you are choosing humility as your way of life. There is one more truth that must be spoken before this message closes, and it may be the most important truth of all. You were not chosen simply to be comfortable. Comfort is a byproduct of blessing, and there is nothing wrong with the rest and relief that comes when long seasons of struggle finally give way to provision. Rest in that, be grateful for it. Let your body and your spirit exhale in the peace of a season that feels gentler than the ones that came before. But do not mistake comfort for the destination. The chosen one was chosen for purpose. The blessings God releases into your life carry embedded within them a calling that extends beyond your own household, your own circumstances, your own needs. Every resource that flows through your hands has the potential to become a channel of God's goodness, reaching into places that cannot reach themselves. Families struggling quietly, communities hungry for hope, individuals walking the narrow road alone, and needing to see evidence that God is faithful before they lose the courage to continue. You are that evidence. Your life, handled with humility and wisdom, becomes a testimony that speaks louder than any announcement you could make. The way you carry blessing quietly, the way you give without needing to be seen, the way you remain grounded and kind and rooted in faith even when your circumstances have changed. These things declare the goodness of God more powerfully than 1,000 public celebrations ever could. So walk forward, chosen one. Walk forward into the season opening before you with calm steps, open hands, and a heart tethered to the God who has guided every moment of your story. Receive what is coming with gratitude. Protect it with silence and wisdom. Steward it with purpose and generosity. And never, not for a single moment, allow the blessings of the season to become more important than the presence of the one who sends them. That is the path of the chosen one. and you were made for it. If this message has spoken to something real inside you, if something shifted in your heart while you were here, then let heaven know you received it. Type Amen in the comments below. Type 1111 if you trust that God is already moving on your behalf. Type Yes if you are committing today to carry your blessings with humility, silence, and quiet wisdom. Share this with one person walking a path of faith and standing near the edge of their own breakthrough. You may not know exactly why you feel led to share it with them, but God does. Be the messenger He chose for this moment. Subscribe and stay close, because there is more coming, more truth, more wisdom, more messages crafted specifically for the heart that is choosing to walk closely with God through every season of life. Turn on notifications so that when the next message arrives, you will be ready to receive it. And if you would like to support this work, if you believe in what is being poured out here and want to sow into it, the link to buy a coffee is in the description below and pinned in the first comment. Your generosity is a seed. Every seed planted in faith returns a harvest far greater than the original offering. God sees every quiet act of faithfulness. He honors every humble choice. And He walks beside every soul who chooses wisdom over pride, silence over noise, and gratitude over the restless performance of success. You are the chosen one. Walk like it.